Last night, Republicans elevated a person who had been the prime mover of shutting down the government for 17 days. Not only that, once it was closed, he kept wrangling about how long it should stay closed, and then when it opened, he talked about it should never have opened in the first place. And then he tried to shut the government down again over the question of whether we should deport dreamers. So it seems to me that Republicans are doubling down on dysfunction. And now, as you read the Hill newspapers today, you find that the Republican leader said, we're not going to do much this year anyway. We want to focus on the appropriation bills. If that's all we do, and don't do things where there's widespread bipartisan support, like reform of the criminal justice system, that's not going to make people real happy. We should move forward on those things we can move forward on, and it's disappointing to have the Republican leader say that basically he's not going to take any chances on anything this year. This year, we've had 7 voting days in the Senate. This is shaping up to be a nothing year for the Senate. And really, that's too bad. The American people sent us here to be senators, to have discussions, debates, and focus on legislation. That means tackling, as I've already indicated, the reform of the criminal justice system that Democrats and Republicans agree should take place. We should have debates on issues dealing with raising the minimum wage, doing something about these young men and women who are in the red because of the burden of student debt. We should be doing that. So I, of course, support the goal of passing our funding bills, but that's not enough for the American people. We have also, in addition to the Senate being this year and the last year, a Senate basically nothing except the stuff that was left over from stuff they had filibustered the year before. Fewest nominations in the mind of memories of anyone that can remember. And that's an ongoing program this year they have. Do no nominations. Doesn't matter if it deals with national security, which many of them do. The State Department, the Treasury Department they have people there who are wanting to get involved in the fight against ISIS. Help the State Department, help Treasury, and they're being blocked. It seems a little early to shut the Senate down for business. You know, the Thurman rule used to take place in the fall. We're in the middle of the winter, so it's really too bad what's taking place. I would hope that the Republicans will work with us. I have been impressed with Murkowski, who's working with Cantwell to try to get things done. And I would hope that all the reports I get from Senator Cantwell, she's trying very, very hard to get things done. I would hope their Republican colleagues would join with her in allowing this bill to move forward. Senator Durbin?
I'd like to make 2 points. Criminal justice reform is a bipartisan bill ready to be considered by the United States Senate. It was reported out of the Senate Judiciary Committee 15-5. It's Senator Grassley's bill. I'm co-sponsoring it. Senator Cornyn is also a co-sponsor. And it has a substantial support on the Democratic side of the aisle. The President has encouraged us to bring it forward. Department of Justice wants to work with it, hammer out any details. This is a bill ripe for consideration on the floor of the United States Senate. Too often now, the majority leader has told us he wants to take it up with his members. Well, he has time to do that, and he should do it soon. And after we return from the President's break, I hope we'll call this bill on the floor. We're ready for it, a fulsome debate on making the reforms in our criminal justice system that will keep our communities and families safe, but will save us money from those who have been sentenced for entirely too long for certain offenses, certain specific offenses. That, I think, is the right thing for us to do. I am troubled by this report that Senator McConnell says he's not going to even take up bipartisan bills like the criminal justice bill. It reminds me of the story of Abraham Lincoln in the midst of the Civil War, contacting General McClellan, who wouldn't engage the enemy, saying, "Do you mind if I borrow your army?" We need to ask the same question to Senator McConnell. Do you mind if we borrow your Senate? There are a few things that need to be done in this country, dramatic things that need to be done. Dealing with college student loans, let's get started there. Dealing with issues that really are issues of national security. Let me give you a couple, for example. This Flint, Michigan episode is a reminder of how vulnerable every single American is to dirty, poisoned, polluted water. It came to its head in Flint, Michigan, and you can't miss it. Who's going to step in to protect the people of Flint and the people of America when it comes to the quality of drinking water? It's going to be our government if it does its job right. And that's why we need to work to make sure that on this bill and future bills, we're addressing these environmental issues. Yesterday, I was in Atlanta, Georgia, visiting the Center for Disease Control. They are now focused in a laser-like way on this Zika mosquito virus. We know what's happening in South America. When the Brazilians felt that there was something happening, where did they turn for verification so that they knew what the threat was to their country and to our hemisphere? They turned to the Center for Disease Control in Atlanta, Georgia. They did the testing. They're the ones who came up with the verification. That's the kind of investment we need to make to keep America safe. And I'm sure this is going to play out to be a challenge in many places around the United States.
Thank you. Well, we're barely into February, and it seems like senioritis is already setting in here in the Senate. Despite the fact that there are urgent challenges that demand action, the crisis in Puerto Rico, criminal justice reform, huge backlog of nominees, all the security issues we face, the Zika virus, Republican leaders seem paralyzed by divisions within their own caucus. It's not unlike the presidential race, and unfortunately, we're suffering. The American people deserve better than a Republican Congress that just struggles to keep the lights on and completely sidesteps the tough but necessary debates we need to have to solve problems in this country. People, middle-class people, people trying to be in the middle class are crying out for us to do something. And the Senate leadership says, nope, never mind. Just when we thought it wasn't possible for Republican leaders to lower expectations for this legislative year, somehow they managed to do exactly that. The American people deserve better than this. The fact that it's election year doesn't mean Republicans can simply phone it in. There are real crises in this country. We're at a challenging turning point, domestically in terms of incomes, domestically in terms of jobs, and security, both here and abroad. Security so you have clean water. Security so we're not attacked by terrorists. There's so much to do, and Senator McConnell is just lowering expectations. We hope Republicans can move past their divisions, reach out to Democrats, and make this year a meaningful one.
Senator Murray.
Well, people across the country have made it clear that they want Democrats and Republicans to work together to help our middle-class families and our economy. We, Democrats, agree, and we are ready to keep up the work. We were glad that Republicans finally joined us last year to pass a budget bill that restored investments in health care and education and research, and we were glad Republicans finally worked with us to finally fix the broken No Child Left Behind law. We got things done last year because we Democrats want a government that actually works for the families that we serve. And we are willing to work with Republicans to keep us moving in that direction. So I join my colleagues today in saying, let's keep that work going. Republican leaders seem to be tempted to avoid anything that helps middle-class families if the Tea Party doesn't approve, and that is the wrong way to go. We can make progress on so many issues, higher education, healthcare, economy, only if Republicans are ready to join us at the table and do the right thing. Senator Cruz may be winning over Republican primary voters by telling them government can't work, the Senate Republicans can't get anything done, but there is no reason for Republican leaders to help him prove his point.
Questions?
Senator Reid, what do you think of Marco Rubio's performance last night?
He came in third.
What do you think of Cruz's victory?
possible areas of common ground with the White House are addressing opioid abuse and combating the Zika virus. And of course, he said, for the last 2 months that moving the 12 appropriations bill is going to be the main focus this year. Are you basically saying that's small potatoes?
I think we need to do something about criminal justice, including opiates. I think that would be very important. So let's do it. There's major issues out there that we still need to deal with. Flint, Michigan is a poster for what is wrong with America's infrastructure. Those lead pipes are not only in Flint, Michigan, they're all over the country. And it's not the only place we're going to have trouble with lead. We got it in big volume there because the governor of Michigan was trying to save $1 and wound up costing a lot of money. So, there are things we need to be working on. I'm surprised that there hasn't been some more talk about doing things that would really help the American people. For example, Senator Durbin has worked tirelessly on something called marketplace fairness. It passed here a long time ago. Consumers need this, they want this, but they're afraid to bring it up here for a vote again. The House has stalled that. We have so many issues that we need to work on. And to think that we're going to do nothing, and it's, as I said, the second day of February, that's wrong.
Senator Reid, what do you make of the self-described socialist being this close to winning Iowa, clearly tied to Hillary Clinton?
Hillary Clinton won in Iowa. We have a race now that we're going to focus on in New Hampshire. We'll see how that turns out. We're moving from there to Nevada, then South Carolina. And I would just make this comment. I am so happy that I was involved in changing the way we elect presidents. 8 years ago, we had our first focus on something other than Iowa and New Hampshire. Well, those two states shouldn't determine who's going to be president of the United States. Did you see the diversity in Iowa last night? Those huge crowds? I saw there wasn't any. And then, of course, we go whip off to New Hampshire. Not many people live there, and there's no diversity. Moving into Nevada, South Carolina, there's diversity, as is in the rest of the country. So it's really, I think, a system. I don't see it change tomorrow, but it's kind of not a very good system to have, and have for decade after decade. Iowa and New Hampshire meaning so much when it has no recognition of what America is all about as far as diversity and wide-ranging economic issues. Okay, everybody, thanks.